Namaste friends. Today I want to talk about a recent controversy. There was a prominent ad by a well-known clothing company in India starring a famous actress which depicted Kanyadan, the concept of Kanyadan, the ritual of Kanyadan in a negative light. It basically showed it as an oppressive and backward practice of treating a girl as some kind of object who's given away, and they had this notion of Kanyaman, giving respect and honor to women instead of disrespecting and insulting them. So I want to share a perspective on it from the point of view of Sanatana Dharma, because there are a lot of misconceptions here. First of all, one notion that was forwarded was that women are being treated as objects by talking about giving away. But the thing is, the Sanskrit word dana does not mean only objects, giving away an object or material possession. It is not just material things. For example, we talk about pranadana, giving, saving somebody's life, giving life to somebody. We talk about vidyadana. Vidya means knowledge, giving knowledge to somebody. So all those are used with the word dana. So and vidya is obviously not an object. So and also the vidyadana can be of really subtle and sublime knowledge also. So first of all, the notion that dana means you are giving, you are objectifying the woman is wrong. Second, the other notion that was presented was that after this, my relation with you is not cut off. It's not like I'm no longer yours and I'm somebody else's. I'm still your daughter. The thing is, there is this notion, when you use the English expression, the Christian notion of father giving away that bride, when you look at that word giving away, it has a different connotation. But the Sanskrit word dana has multiple meanings. One meaning is giving away something, which means cutting off your relation with it. You are basically done with it. It is owned by somebody else. That is one notion. But the other notion is, there is another meaning of dana, which is sharing with somebody else, sharing something precious with somebody else. For example, when you say vidyadana, when I do vidyadana to somebody, vidyadana means giving knowledge. I don't lose that knowledge. So dana doesn't necessarily mean loss, not giving away so that you are losing something. I still have the knowledge that I have. It's not like my relation with the knowledge is cut off. I still have the same relation with my knowledge, but somebody else can enjoy that knowledge, can benefit from that knowledge now. And it is the same way with Kanyadana. It is not a matter of cutting off relation with the existing family, but it is that of sharing the precious gift that a girl is with another family. The other notion is, the ad talks about I'm not wealth, I'm not a property. Now the thing is, the English words wealth and property have this connotation of you own something, you can do whatever you want to do with something, you control that. But the thing is, the Sanskrit word dhana has a different connotation. Dhana doesn't necessarily mean material belongings only. It means anything that makes you happy, anything that you consider valuable and precious, that makes you really pleased, that pleases you and makes you happy. In other words, whatever makes you dhanya, whatever makes you feel dhanya about it, is dhana. That is really the definition of dhana. That is why we talk about various kinds of dhana. For example, we talk about arogya dhana, which is health. We talk about santosh dhana, which means just being happy, just being content. That is a dhana in itself, contentment and happiness. Like that, there are so many dhanas. Even vidya is considered a dhana. As a matter of fact, we say vidyadhanam sarvadhana pradhanam. The wealth of knowledge is the most important of all wealth. So the Sanskrit word dhana is more generic. It is more subtle than the modern connotation of material wealth that you enjoy, that you control, that you own. So, and the other thing is, the dharmic perspective, the perspective of the paradigm of Sanatana Dharma towards one's dhana is not that you own it, you control it, you enjoy it, etc. It is that of something that you possess that you can put to good use for the good of the society. That is the connotation of dhana in the dharmic perspective. In astrology, in Jyotisha, we see dhana from the second house. Wealth is seen from the second house. All the possessions and wealth and resources one has are from the second house. And the ninth house of dharma from it is the 10th house of karma. Which means the dharma of the wealth that you have is actually to do good karma in the society, to benefit the society with good actions. So the wealth that I have is not for enjoying or controlling or feeling great about it, but it is to serve the world around you. The dharmic perspective, to have a society that is balanced and that is sustainable, is to tell everybody that you are in it to serve others. And if everybody thinks that way, we will have a sustainable and happy society. And that was the dharmic paradigm. So from that perspective, when we talk about santanadhana, which is children as a wealth, both boy and girl included, you use that wealth to serve the society. In the case of a girl, by marrying her to a good bridegroom that she likes and you like, into a good family, you can serve the society better. They can together bring up another family, and that serves the society better. So from that perspective, this is a matter of service to the society rather than your own control. Don't think of it in terms of control and ownership. As a matter of fact, forget about santanadhana. Even the Vedic perspective, the dharmic perspective is your knowledge, anything that you possess, even your health and your body, these are all basically considered. Everything that you think you own is considered to be really owned by the Lord. Lord is the real owner of everything, and you are a temporary caretaker of everything that is in your possession right now. And that is the attitude Sanatana Dharma recommends. You basically see the Lord in the people that are around you, and you serve them in the ways that you can with whatever you possess, whether it is your own body, your own wealth, your own knowledge, etc., or other things like your children. So from that perspective, when we are talking about Kanyadan, it is not at all about you controlling things, you basically owning something that you enjoy or you take pride in and you control. Now the final thing is, some people may still be uncomfortable with the lack of symmetry here. We are talking about giving the kanya to the boy, not the other way around. We are not talking about giving the boy, doing dana of the boy, bridegroom to the bride. So some people may feel uncomfortable with that. But the thing is, when it comes to gender, there is no symmetry. It does not mean superiority or inferiority like some people think nowadays. In the old days, men and women were both considered important. Equal is really a bad word. They were not really same or equal, but they had equal rights. For example, both of them will say in the marriage vows, dharme cha arthe cha kame cha mokshe cha nati charami. In dharma, in artha, in accumulating resources, in fulfilling my duties, in pursuing my desires, and in pursuing final liberation. In final liberation, I will not overtake you. I'll walk along with you. So husband and wife are supposed to walk together on a path of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So they are equal partners in the journey. They are not same. There are differences between them, but they are equal partners in the journey. It is about the journey. Now there is one difference between men and women. If you look at the subtlest and most sublime level, the highest man is the Purusha, the cosmic being, the Paramapurusha or Narayana, or some people also call him Sadashiva. So the Paramapurusha is considered by Shastras to be the potential energy, to give analogy in terms of science, potential energy of the cosmos. Whereas Prakriti or Shakti is the kinetic energy of the cosmos. And potential energy and kinetic energy are transferable. They are not really different. Similarly, Shastras say Shiva and Shakti are not different. Lakshmi and Narayana are different. They are just two sides of the same coin. When there is withdrawal, when there is potential form, that is the Purusha, that is Narayana or Shiva. When there is kinetism, when there is creation, when there is a lot of activity, that is Shakti or the Divine Mother. So in other words, when it is just Shiva, it is just the potential of the world within him. There is no world there. And when Shakti manifests from that Shiva, that is basically the world that has been created. So similarly, in men there is a little more potential energy aspect of the cosmic being, whereas in women there is a little more kinetic energy aspect. So women have that creative ability that men lack. Men do not have. Women have everything a man has, and additionally they have that creative ability. And here I don't just mean fertility and physical creation, but physically, mentally and spiritually, women have a creative faculty that men lack, so they make man more complete. So that is why man needs woman. So that is why woman is being given to man there. Let me go back to my previous analogy of Vidyadana. When I do Vidyadana to a Shishya, to a student, when I give knowledge to a student, it doesn't mean the student is superior and the knowledge that is being given to him is inferior. In fact, it may be other way around. So when we talk about Kanjadana to a bridegroom, to a vara, it doesn't connotate any inferiority or superiority. It is just a matter of who needs who more. That's all. But in the end, once they take each other's hand, once they do panigrahana, take each other's hand and start walking, do saptapadi, they go around the fire, taking the fire as witness, they take 7 steps and they take the vows of in dharma, artha, kama and moksha, I will not overtake you, I will walk along with you. They are equal partners in the journey. So this is really the notions in Sanatana Dharma are very sublime. But I do concede one thing. Because this is deep Kali Yuga, some of these notions may have been misunderstood by people. They may have been lost, and the society may have become more patriarchal, and women may have been oppressed, and some of the bad news we see of women being oppressed, women being insulted, etc. is real. We can't shy away from it. But the thing is, this is not fault of Sanatana Dharma. This is basically the fault of the society we live in. As a matter of fact, if we make people understand the essence of Sanatana Dharma, instead of just saying I'm a Hindu, I will worship so and so Devata, and then being proud of what they are doing, etc., if they can understand the essence of it and follow it in their conduct, actually world will be a happier place. And finally, to go back to the advertisement in question, clearly this is based on idealism of the knee-jerk variety. They don't really nobody involved with this project had any idea of what Sanatana Dharma is and what really Kanjadana is, and they just went based on misconceptions, and they went with some knee-jerk ideals. In other words, Kanjadan is not an apman, not an insult of the girl, and it is not an insult of bridegroom either. It is basically, there is no apman to anybody there. As a matter of fact, what they call as Kanjaman is actually Kanjadan. Kanjadan is Kanjaman. So this whole thing is really messed up. I don't really want to say anything more on this, but please feel free to, if these thoughts made sense to you, if this expanded your perspective, your thinking of Sanatana Dharma, please feel free to share this video with your friends. Thank you very much. Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Sarve Jana Sukhino Bhavantu. Yavad Bhumandale Sanatana Dharmo Vardhatu. Visheshatah Bharatakande, America Vashe, Tibet Rashtre cha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you very much.